Hi, this is Chad from AM 950. Snap Construction is arguably the most well-reviewed roofing, siding, window, and insulation contractor in the metro. Ryan is so excited about working with AM 950 and our listeners that he wants to help us grow.
This is Ryan, owner of Snap Construction. I was friends with Chad long before I started marketing with him. I was a bit skeptical of radio advertising before Chad convinced us to run ads. The advertising's been so successful, we want to help the station grow. We've absolutely loved working with the listeners of AM 950, and we all know how extremely important this radio station is to the community. To help AM 950 grow, Snap Construction will be putting up proceeds to assist the station in marketing on social media. Snap Construction encourages you to follow, engage, share, and interact on the AM 950 social media platforms. Together, we can all work to ensure AM 950 continues to thrive and grow in our communities. We stand by our work with a lifetime craftsmanship guarantee. For a free estimate or more information on our financing, call 612-333-SNAP or check us out online.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Partly cloudy tonight with a low of 63, then sunshine Tuesday with a high of 86. Gotcha Mama's Hot Barbecue offers the huge taste of selections like baby back ribs and pulled pork sandwiches out of a little place. Gotcha Mama's is located just a block west of I-35W off of West Diamond Lake Road in South Minneapolis. Visit their website at scotchamamas.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host, guest, random reptoid, or chupacabra may not necessarily reflect those of AM 950 Radio, its affiliates, or its sponsors. Now, it's time to step into the unknown. There are things people experience but never talk about. A shadow moving in the corner, flickering of the lights, a disembodied voice. We invite you to talk with us. Share your story, share your experience, because this isn't just your story, this is our story. This is GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun.
And this is GhostBox Radio on AM 950, where every night we talk about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. My name is Greg Bakun, and thank you very much for joining me tonight. Happy Monday, huh? Wow. How great, huh? Hopefully it wasn't a complete shambles for you today. I know, that's very pessimistic, isn't it? But, sometimes Mondays don't seem to always go all that well, but I'm hoping that yours did. It was nice and warm out, so maybe that was in your favor. I don't know, but I'll tell you something that made me very happy, actually. Some of you may recall that if you listened last week, I had on as a guest Ernie Pack, and Char Savoy was on as well. And I started that interview by asking for them to return, Ernie that is, to return some of my property. Now, remember, Ernie lives in West Point, Kentucky. And I said, may I please, I bought a couple chunky bars. Could you please return it to me? I left it behind. And he basically said that they threw it out. I mean, I was shocked. So what happened Saturday was miraculous to start with. A friend of mine, Carla, she got over in Jordan at the world's biggest candy store. She got me a couple chunky bars. And I didn't know that they were in Minnesota at all, anywhere. And I was just really, I was humbled that an angel came down from heaven and provided me with these chunky bars that Ernie Pack refused to even consider sending my way. He just thought that it was something to be thrown out. And, I just want to say that there are good people in Minnesota, and Carla is one of them. And thank you, Carla, for saving the day, saving the year. And I had one of the chunky bars on Sunday night, and it was delicious. And I was really excited to be able to have one of those. I haven't had them in a long time, not since West Point, Kentucky. And it was a nice little treat. I've not been out to the world's biggest candy store. I'm going to. One thing I want to see when I go out there, they have a full-size TARDIS. If you've ever seen Doctor Who, the police box, it has a full-size one of those out there, and that's pretty cool. But yeah, no, it was very interesting to get one of those, and they call that retired candy, I guess. Candy that's not I mean, it has to be made still. I mean, right? It's just probably less volume because, I mean, it's not old candy. I'm not eating candy from 1987. I mean, they obviously have been making them, but they must just make them in very low dosage for the world's largest candy store, as well as West Point, Kentucky. Clearly, unfortunately, one of them had been thrown away. So tonight, I'm really excited. I am really excited about this. I have wanted to interview somebody from MUFON for a very long time, and I just was very excited when I reached out to my guest tonight that he was very open to talking and having a good conversation. I don't know. We all know what MUFON is, but do we know what MUFON is, if that makes sense? You know, I think that there's a lot of, I wouldn't go as far as confusion, but maybe we all see just one angle of it where there's a whole lot more. So I am very excited. I have with me today the Minnesota chapter director of MUFON, Tom Maher. Tom, welcome to GhostBox Radio.
Hey, Greg, thanks for having me on. But before we jump into everything, I do have a little bit of a bone to pick with you. I got to start off right away. I got to let you know I really, really resent the suggestion that I may be just some random reptoid. I'm actually a very specific reptoid, so there's nothing random about my reptoidiness. So just want to make sure we're clear on that. So.
No, well, you know, that's because, you know what, here's the thing. Okay. That's not directed at you because you aren't a random reptoid. You are a very important reptoid.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I don't think I've said it enough to you. So I do apologize for that.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Folks, if you have a question for Tom tonight, we're not taking phone calls, but you can put it into the comment section of any of the Facebook Lives, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, whatever. If you want to ask him a question about what it's like to be a reptoid, I would highly recommend that as well. I've wondered for a long time. But
the winters are difficult. I'll say that the winters are tough for the reptoid. So
do you shed? Like, do you have like your entire like skin kind of sheds? And there's like just because reptoids do reptiles do that, don't they? Or do I not know anything about them?
Now you're getting a little personal, Greg. You're getting a little personal.
Well, you know, I mean, we're going to cover topics that maybe people don't want to talk about.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. How are you, Tom?
I'm feeling good. Excited to be here. Thank you.
I'm really excited to have you on too, and I'm glad that you know that you agreed to be on because, like I said, you know, I think we all know what MUFON is, but at the same time, I don't know if we know enough about what MUFON is, and I'd like to talk about that a little bit because I really feel like that this is, especially in Minnesota, this is probably a very good resource that I think a lot more people need to pay attention to. So let's just start with what MUFON is.
Yeah, I do want to touch on something you said just a second ago too, as far as people knowing about us. A lot of people do know about us, but you know, occasionally we'll still get cases in where someone will have something happen to them and they'll document it and they'll go, boy, I wish I had some place to report this to. Then they'll find out, oh, what's this MUFON thing? MUFON existed and they can report to us. Or they'd heard about MUFON, but they had no idea that there's a chapter in Minnesota. So yeah, it's there is a little bit of that, but as far as what is MUFON, so MUFON is a nonprofit organization. We're all actually private citizens, so we're not government, we're not military, and we gather extraterrestrial and UFO sightings from the public, and so our mission is we investigate UFO sightings for the benefit of humanity, collect the data and benefit for humanity. So it's a place where people can go and submit the reports and sightings. And we will actually take their sightings and we will investigate them and try to determine what happened, because some of the sightings are really disturbing and upsetting to people and they really want to know what it is. Some people aren't so upset, but they're just that curiosity, they want to know. And we do try to follow a very scientific process in determining what it is that people are seeing and experiencing and helping them get to that conclusion. So
that's great. And I mean, I think you know, first of all, I mean, I don't know if this is something to look down at me about or just that you accept or whatever, but you know, I've saw on an episode of Ancient Aliens. I mean, that's my level of in-depth reporting here. But an episode of Ancient Aliens, one thing that I was really that took me by not surprised, but it was actually really impressed with. They brought some people out from whatever chapter of MUFON that was in the area that they're filming, and they ended up having they're talking about the skill sets of these investigators, and they were extraordinary. They're both ex-military. They were both like really it's not something like if I was like, if I'm Greg Bakun and I'm like, I would like to be an investigator at MUFON, I could not do what they're doing because their skill set was so impressive.
Right. Yeah, and actually, I think if it's the same episode that I'm thinking of, we actually had 2 of our field investigators were involved with that episode too. I don't think they appeared on camera, but they were out there working with them on that episode. So yeah, and it is a wide variety. Your average person can become a field investigator. It's not an easy thing to do, but it can be done. And we do appreciate people of different skill sets because that's needed. I mean, one of our chief investigators, he was from the military and he's got some radar background, so he's very familiar with radar and stuff. We have one former field investigator who is a meteorologist, so he's very familiar with weather phenomena and how that works. And one of our current field investigators, she's got a nursing background, so like data and evidence and physical things and collecting stuff. She's very skilled and knowledgeable about samples and specimens and how to do those things. And one of our other current field investigators, he's a helicopter pilot, so he knows about flying and what's in the sky and what's not in the sky, what looks right. So and it would be perfect if all chapters could have all these areas of expertise, but that's just not the case. It's you kind of get what shows up and what has that interest. So we'd like to have a lot of diversity. And we did have a lot of ex-military in our chapter. I don't know that we've got so many ex-military right now, but yeah, that's always another great resource of people, credible witnesses and people who kind of really know what they're talking about, really understand that. So we don't all have the nice spread and mix, but we do what we can. So
and it makes sense that, I mean, like you said, it depends on what you have in the area, but it makes sense that you're going to try to find people of those skill sets because you need to have people at those skill sets to do some proper investigation. I mean, I could have all the passion in the world, but if I don't know anything about any of that, I am going to be useless to you.
Well, to be a field investigator, you get some training. There's a field investigator manual, so you learn some stuff from that, and you'll work with other field investigators, so you learn. So we do kind of rely on each other too to help each other learn. Yeah. I try to run a field investigator training here in Minnesota every month, and we're just talking about different skills and mindsets and how to do different things. So it's all about kind of educating each other and supporting each other and making each other better field investigators. So we're doing a better job, So
well, and I'm sure, and we're talking with Tom Maher, who is the Minnesota State Director for MUFON. And the thing is, like Linda puts into the comments, she says about a year ago, she went through the MUFON process in California to turn in an image that she took with her cell phone. They have forms and to share the particulars of the event. And I have to think that there's a lot riding on everything that is turned into MUFON in the sense of MUFON's reputation, and that it can't just be like, I'm just looking at it and this looks like a UFO or something. So the standards have to be pretty rigorous, I would think.
Yeah. And when we started, we didn't have any cases. Now we've got well over 100,000 cases, and it's if we had determined that every single case that came to us was an unidentified craft that had to be an extraterrestrial craft, I mean, that wouldn't be much for our credibility. It would just, or if we decided like they're all hoaxes, that wouldn't do our credibility anything either. So it really is important that we keep all the information, we keep the cases, and we do show and try to be as transparent as we can about what's happening and what our results do come to when we investigate these cases. So yeah.
When you say transparent, is that transparent to the person who reported it, or is it transparent to is that stuff like publicly available for people to look at?
It used to be more publicly available for people to look at. MUFON's kind of tightened some stuff up now, so you can still go to the main website, www.mufon.com, and see like the latest sightings and stuff. It used to show a lot more data. For me in Minnesota, we held a meeting once a month, and once a month I talk about cases that we've completed in the past month and new cases that have come in. So I really show in my chapter, I try to look at every single case. Here's what came in. Here's the date. Here, give as much detail as I can without jeopardizing the anonymity of the witness, and just try to show here's what we're doing. Here's what we're working on. Here's the results that our field investigators are finding. And it's interesting too, because through the course of doing this, and just kind of one of our goals is educating the public. So we do this and we look at the videos, and I always try to do that. If they're submitting videos or photographs, I'm always trying to share that in our meetings. Even if it just looks like a completely black screen, I share that anyways. And I tell them, I'm sharing it because it's what we got. I'm not holding anything back. I'm showing you what we've got. I want you to see it. I'm not withholding anything. If I can show it to you, I'm going to show it to you. So,
and I'm sure that maybe there's a possibility that someone's going to see something that maybe other people hadn't seen. Like it gives other people a chance to have fresh eyes on it.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because as we're doing that, the people that attend our chapter meetings regularly, they're getting pretty good at picking off some of the stuff too. They're recognizing things. Oh, I know what that is. So, it's interesting that they're kind of learning too. But yeah, and it's interesting too, because sometimes we'll get a case in and I may be showing it and I haven't had a chance to dig into it a lot myself, and we'll kind of be talking about it, because I will take questions from the audience, and someone in the audience will go, hey, you know what? That's what's happening here. So they'll even the untrained people will have ideas and thoughts that are really enlightening, that can lead us in an interesting direction. So yeah, it is a lot of fun, and so there's a lot of learning that goes on there. So I appreciate that.
So the meetings are open to the public.
They are open to the public. Yeah, we try to do hybrid meetings, meaning people are there in person, and we're also online on the Zoom platform. So
that's cool. That's really cool. Linda followed up. She said her image was 5 dots flying in formation way up in the sky and flying through a hole in the clouds. And I guess I'm just going to ask you, Tom, is that real? No, I'm just kidding. But then she can you confirm that's real now? No. But the location of where she was seemed to be significant. She was at the end of an international airport runway and its huge radar installation in San Jose, California. Tom, I'm not reading it so that you can weigh in on it. I mean, if you want to, you can. But I'm just kind of putting out there what she's talking about. But I mean, those are one of those things that it's already with another chapter. It's right. That's in a place that, whether it's being taken care of or whatever the result was, that's over to them. Yeah. But if someone needs something from another chapter of MUFON, do you all collaborate? Like you said that you have some really good people in your chapter that has a lot of skill sets. If another chapter is needing those skill sets, does anybody from your chapter go over to, like, even if it's like another state or something, to help out?
Yeah, there's actually, because right now some of the states don't have formal chapters up and running. So we do have a what's called a CAG, or a case assistance group. So okay. We'll have field investigators from other states investigate cases in chapters where there's not as many field investigators, or if a case has a lot of field investigators, or a state has a lot of field investigators, but too many cases, a CAG assistant may come in and help out with that chapter too. And, one thing that happens a lot is photo analysis. Not a lot of chapters have good photo analysis, but sure. Some of them do. So a lot of times we'll need to tap into someone who's really good at photo analysis. So, and it's right in the name mutual. And that comes from, we have mutual goals. We have a mutual vision. We're working together. So mutual is that part of sharing information and connecting. And I'm going to the MUFON Symposium later this month. I'll be going to a chapter director meeting. So we do get together. We talk about things. We meet each other. We share information as much as we can. So yeah. And like, so say in Minnesota, if we have a case and it seems to be like a sighting of something going across the sky for quite a ways, we might look and see, did we also have a similar case in South Dakota or Iowa and Wisconsin on the same night that happened? So we might not realize that incident may have crossed 2 or 3 different states, but working together, I can look at cases from other states, and so we can work together with field investigators from other states to kind of determine what's happening, or if we, as best we can.
That's fantastic. Now, before we go into break, folks, I do want to let everyone know that we are still giving away tickets to the Universal Pictures film, The Last Voyage of the Demeter. We have advanced screening tickets for Wednesday, August 9th at the Rosedale AMC. If you would like to get tickets, so you have to be local. If you would like tickets to this film, go into the chat room and put Dracula, and we will probably be able to get you what you need. We'll probably able to get you some tickets. So definitely, if you're interested in checking that out, please go and add Dracula to the comments. You got to be local to the Twin Cities, though, and want to go to Rosedale. That's August 9th, coming up on Wednesday. We're going to take our first break. When we come back, we're going to continue our very fascinating conversation with Tom Maher. We're talking about MUFON. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950.
Reach your highest level of consciousness and well-being with MetamorphosisConnections.com. MetamorphosisConnections.com is an online directory of the best holistic and metaphysical practitioners to help you make your most informed choices. You can search MetamorphosisConnections.com for classes, events, wellness and life coaches, plus metaphysical products and shops. You can also search for a wide array of healers from all modalities, including EFT, sound healing, energy healing, light therapy, ancestral healing, shamanic healing, reflexology, past life regressions, hypnotherapy, yoga, and more. And if you're not sure where to start, the search feature on metamorphosisconnections.com is tailored to help both those who know what they are looking for and those who are just starting. Come explore the possibilities for your higher self by visiting metamorphosisconnections.com. Their experienced practitioners can guide both beginners and those that are already on their spiritual journey. That's metamorphosisconnection.com, your link to direct you on your spiritual transformation.
Cafe Latte offers made-from-scratch soups, salads, sandwiches, and mouth-watering desserts. So come check out their pizza and wine bar, or get a treat from the bakery made fresh daily. Plus, you can still do online ordering and takeout, along with gift cards. Just go to cafelatte.com and choose from their ever-changing selection of award-winning salads, sandwiches, and soups. Cafe Latte is located off Victoria and Grand and online at cafelatte.com.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. Believe it or not, barely a month from now, the kids will be back in school. So while you're getting some fresh looks for your kids before they head back, make sure to get a fresh look for your home, too, with my cleaning heroes at Zero Res. Carpets, tile, rugs, upholstery, basically every surface in your home can be Zero Resified, so it's time to call the cleaning pros at Zero Res. It's also the height of the summer allergy season, so it's the perfect time to get your air ducts cleaned. Get that nasty pollen and dust that's been swirling through your air conditioner out of your home. This month from Zero Res, get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129 and take $75 off an air duct cleaning. You owe it to yourself, your kids, and your home to get the fall off to a good start. Call Zero Res today, 952-ZERO-RES, or schedule an appointment at ZeroResMinnesota.com. Zero Res, backward or forward spells the same.
And we're just over a week away from our great big Dave Schrader event over at the Anderson House in Wabasha, Minnesota. That is August 18th through 20th. Like I said, over at the Anderson House in Wabasha, Minnesota. For those of you who have followed him on Darkness Radio, who have also been watching him on the Holzer Files and so many other programs, listening to him on the Paranormal 60, we have just a handful of tickets left. No room left in the hotel itself, but we offer options where to stay. But it's going to be a fantastic event. Go to charvinity.com. On the menu, look for events, and you're going to find what you're looking for. And, just go ahead, get a ticket. It's going to be a lot of fun. And it's the first time that Dave has ever investigated there. So it's going to be a real special occasion. And we're going to be doing a live recording. I hate it when people say it. We're doing a recording of GhostBox Radio Saturday there that we're going to air on Monday with Dave as a guest. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm really looking forward to it. I hope that some of you decide to check it out at least and see what we have going on. We have the full itinerary of the event on charvinity.com. In the events, look for the Dave Schrader event. Now, we have Tom Maher, who is the Minnesota State Director of MUFON on today, which is very exciting. But, Tom, I'm going to be honest. I also have a bone to pick with you. And I don't – it's not your fault, but because you're here, it's kind of –
probably is. But
it's going to have to be your fault. UAP versus UFO. I had this conversation with a mutual friend of ours, Erica Lukes, and she was on about 2 weeks ago. And she, name dropper as she is, she's like, because I said I don't like the term UAP, and she's like, oh, I know the person who made the term, blah blah blah. I still don't like the term UAP. Okay, I'm just going to say it. I know I can't change it, but I'm against it 100%. Can't we just? And she had a very good reason why it's UAP, but I still want it to be UFO only. Okay.
Yeah, I won't hold that against you. So.
Do you feel the same, or are you're just being nice?
Do I feel the same? I'm fine with either one. UFO is something more common. People get it. People understand. UAP is not as common. People don't know about it as much unless they're kind of in the field a little bit more. So I don't take issue with either one. UFO is more common, but I'm certainly fine with UAP, and I understand both. But the public obviously is not as aware of UAP as they are UFO. But it doesn't make a whole lot of difference to me. So what did Erica Lukes have to say about it? I'm curious, because she's the real deal. So
she is the real deal. And remind me again, because this is going to help prompt me. UAP stands for what again? Because I don't even want to learn that. So what UAP
unidentified aerial phenomenon.
I think she said the reason why they switched it was because flying saucer is so specific.
Right. And actually it might even be unidentified anomalous phenomenon. And not the aerial, it's anomalous, I believe.
I think it's anomalous. You're right. I think it is. And I was just like, I can't argue that. I know that this is, that we're living in a time that we got to make everyone feel good, including the aliens. And, but I just, I'm
those reptoids. We don't need to make the reptoids feel good.
Well,
reptoids.
I know you think I have an anti-reptoid agenda, and I guarantee, Tom, I don't. I really do feel for the reptoids. But you're the only one that's come out, even though I suspected many before on my show.
They're a very misunderstood bunch. So
I'm for your cause. Trust me. I watch V all the time.
Right.
So,
right. Yeah.
So there's a lot of like famous sightings and stuff out there that people attribute to being UFO, UAP, whatever else. Mm-hmm. There's a couple that I've always been interested in. Is there any that have been like made the news that you're actually like, and I don't mean like the stuff from the congressional committee, but I mean like stuff from the past that have been kind of floating out in the ether for years that you're just like, I think that could very well be something.
Well, I mean, when you talk about Minnesota, the one case that usually always comes up is the Val Johnson case from up in northern Minnesota. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that or not.
I am, yeah. Yes.
So that's definitely one that's out there where you kind of got to go, yeah, there's something to that. You can't just write that one off. So, but
and that's the police officer, right?
That's former Deputy Val Johnson.
Yep. Okay. There's been a couple of the shows on Discovery Plus that I watch, UFO shows, that one covered that one in great detail for those who want to check that out. I mean, there's two, and I had Chase Klotsky on before.
Oh, yeah,
and I've had two that have always, that I made her, and I admit it, I made her talk. I'm like, I want to only talk about this, and she's just like, oh my God. But one is the battle for Los Angeles in 1942, isn't it?
Right. Yep.
And then the other, and I'm actually posting about it on my Facebook page this week, is the UFOs over the U.S. Capitol in 1952.
Yeah. Yep.
What are your thoughts on those? Not to put you on the spot, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to. I'm just curious what you think about stuff like that, because I'm very fascinated by them.
I am happy to talk about them, but before I do that, though, I kind of feel like we threw out the Val Johnson case, and I'm wondering, maybe a lot of your listeners aren't familiar with that. Should I do a quick recap on what that is?
I would love that. Thank you.
Cool. So this took place back in 1979. Val Johnson was a deputy sheriff up in the northwestern part of Minnesota, actually very close to the North Dakota border. He was on patrol one night. It was well after midnight. He was driving down the road, and on the cross street, he saw down the road what appeared to be a light sitting there. He thought it looked odd. He thought it didn't seem to be on the ground. It could have been like an airplane. He thought, is this an airplane coming down, an airplane landing? He wanted to go investigate it. He took a turn onto the road, was driving down toward it. I think he said he was about a half a mile or a quarter mile away from it. And all of a sudden it was instantly on top of him, on top of his craft. It just like almost instantaneously was like impacted his car. He was knocked unconscious. He was spun off the road. Came to consciousness. Another officer came to assist him. He had what was kind of like mild welder's burns to his eyes. So a lot of strange, unusual damage to his car.
Yeah.
His car is actually now, they didn't repair it. They actually put it in the museum up there in northern Minnesota. So,
wow.
Very interesting case. And where there was actual physical damage done to a car and a person. So and it got a lot of attention. He was on like Good Morning America, and he made national news, and it's kind of dogged him for the rest of his life, because he now lives over. He's retired. He lives over in Wisconsin now. Don't bother Val. Leave Val alone. He wants to retire in peace, but he still has people coming knocking on his. Some local news channel wanted to interview me a year or two ago, and of course they heard about Val, so they had to run out to Wisconsin and knock on Val's door. As I told him, leave him alone, but they had to check him anyway. So, and he's very polite, very nice, very congenial, but he would really like to be left alone. He was never searching for the spotlight, and And initially, he didn't think it was a UFO or an extraterrestrial craft, and now he's kind of thinks it probably was, but he's still kind of undecided as what that was. So that was a really high-profile case here in Minnesota. So
I find that to be like almost more validation for me personally when someone who has experienced something like that doesn't want to talk about it. That
right.
they did their bit by explaining to other authorities or however it worked at the time. But now it's like, I don't want, I don't, like you said, he doesn't want the limelight. He's not writing a book about it. He doesn't want a TV film or whatever. I find that to be very validating.
Yeah, I mean, he was, as I understand it, he's a very good deputy, very by the book, very methodical, and a great witness. So yeah, just a all-around stand-up guy from everything I found out about him. So yeah, just a really good case. So so the Battle of Los Angeles, yeah, I've seen interesting things on that too. Is the question, what is going on there? What was going on there?
I just kind of want your opinion of it, and if you or I could talk about what's going on in there actually too, if you want.
Yeah. So my opinion of it, when you've got all those shells going off and all that air fire happening, especially during that time, you can't really write that off as going, oh, it was just the military testing and military practicing or whatever. Not over civilians like that. The military, no. I mean, whether you like the military or not, whether you like the government or not, they just don't shoot off live rounds over civilian populated areas. They just don't do that. And having all that shrapnel and stuff raining down is just, there's just so much evidence there that something very unusual did happen. And to write it off as something simple, I don't think it's that simple. So, yeah.
No, it's always a shame. And this happened during World War II in Los Angeles and around Los Angeles. And something came through. And obviously, the first thing that people think is something's flying through the air. Is it a Japanese ship of some kind? Is it an enemy ship? What is this? And this didn't fire on anyone, though, did it?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
No, it was, but I mean, as far as the military is concerned, and like you said, whether you like it or not, it's a time of war. If they can't recognize it, they're going to fire on it, and they did, and to my knowledge, there's only like 2 pictures, isn't there? And they're both basically the same.
I'm not sure if there's any more than 2 pictures. I haven't seen a lot of pictures, but I've seen a couple. So yeah, it's one of those things too, where people say, well, for all the firing we did, we didn't hit it. Well, some people say we did. Some people say we didn't. Some people say it crashed into the ocean. Some people say we didn't. Some people say there was nothing there to begin with. So, but like most things in ufology, lots of unanswered questions. So,
and I suppose that's something as an investigator, you just kind of have to get used to is the fact that you may never find out what's going on. And I'm also assuming too, probably one of the worst things to happen is that we could create like CG UFOs on our phone and record them. And 99% of the time, they're probably very, very fake. But have you run into some that are just like, well, it's not too terribly bad looking, that it makes you pause to wonder if that's actually something of interest?
In Minnesota particularly, or in general?
Well, I guess I mean just like the way that people are trying to fake evidence, fake stuff, fake, imagery and fake video of UFOs in the air.
Yeah. It's funny because they can get really good and try to fake this stuff, and it can be very convincing. And sometimes too, when you've seen so much fake stuff and so much stuff that's not real, sometimes the real stuff can look so unusual. You think, oh, that's got to be fake because it looks so different than everything else. It looks so unusual, and it's not. So, but yeah, we don't get a lot of hoax stuff, but we do get a little bit of it. So, but we've got very good photo analysts and video analysts that can help us out with that kind of stuff. So
yeah, that's super important. I remember the very first episode. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about here. Paranormal Caught on Camera, and they had the very first episode. One of the first stories that they had was ships that are over Shakopee, Minnesota, and they are in formation, a circular formation up against the clouds. People think that it's that the lights are coming through the clouds, and what it was is the casino lights from Mystic Lake.
Yeah, we still get Mystic Lake casino lights cases, I'd say twice a year,
Oh, wow.
Obviously, it's not for people that live down there, because the people that live down there, they see that all the time. They know exactly what it is. but it's the people who aren't from around there that see it. And it does look very unusual. It does look like there's something up in the clouds. It's very impressive. But yeah, it's the Mystic Lake Casino lights, that does happen. But as far as, not having answers to the questions, that's the funny thing. Human beings, we love the answers. We love to have completion. We love closure. And I really have tried to embrace living in a state of possibility, living in a state of uncertainty, living in a state of not knowing the answer, and being okay with that. Because, even some of our cases where we think we figured it out, we've got it, more evidence comes in, we have to reevaluate, we have to change it. And, we're always learning. So I try to be okay not knowing the answer, because it leaves me open to possibilities. Once you decide something is something, you cut off all other possibilities, all other alternatives. And I try to really stay open to those as much as I possibly can.
So you probably then don't have any preconceived notions maybe of anything. And and what I mean by that, where I'm going with this, is like, if I were to say to you, do you think that there's grays that are working with the government? Do you think that, that we're reverse engineering? Do you think that we have any crashes any nearby? Would I be correct in thinking that because there isn't really anything to prove that, you personally may not want to even consider that, because there isn't anything that you can hang your hat on for that?
Well, I would certainly consider it. I wouldn't rule anything out. The phrase that I usually use is, my jury's out on just about everything. So
sure.
I wouldn't rule anything out. I mean, because I've seen so much and heard so much, it's like I would be surprised if you could bring something to me that would surprise or shock me. Even if I hadn't heard of it, I'd probably go, possibly, I don't know. So yeah, because I've just heard and seen so much. But yeah, I wouldn't rule anything out. I'm open to just about anything as a possibility, because there's just we humans like to think we know everything or know almost everything, and we just certainly don't. And I think that it's so little that we actually do know. I appreciate the fact that there's so much out there that we don't know, and I try not to rule anything out as a possibility.
It's so true, and I want to touch more on that in the next break. But I do want to quickly read. Linda had mentioned UAP is not a household name, first of all. And if an automated reader were to say these initials, they would not say UAP. It would say UAP. So thanks.
Fair.
Yeah. Tom, what I want to do is I want to take another break here.
Sure.
And when we come back, I'd like to talk with you a little bit more about the congressional hearings that happened a couple of weeks ago. I want your thoughts on it. And folks, if you would like to get some tickets to the Universal film, The Voyage of the Last Demeter, we're giving away advanced screening tickets right now. You can put into the comments Dracula. It's for local, though. It's at the Rosedale AMC. So if you're listening to us somewhere else outside of the Twin Cities, we probably won't be able to do that for you. But if you are around, you will put Dracula into the comments, we'll take care of you. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950.
If you own a holistic or metaphysical business and are looking to expand, then you need to be listed on metamorphosisconnections.com. It's a network where you can grow with like-minded practitioners and reach new clients. Metamorphosisconnections.com is an online directory you need to list yourself and your business. Our platform makes it easy for you to create listings of your products and services, and you can also choose to list your classes, events, and so much more. Metamorphosisconnections.com helps you create weekly and monthly promotional ads targeted towards your potential clients and promotes them for you via social media and newsletter. There are clients searching for your specialty right now. Let us help them find you. Start your listing today so you can share your own unique gifts and talents by finding the level of membership that best fits your needs. Let us help you reach your clients that are searching for what you do. Visit metamorphosisconnections.com and sign up today.
Eat Local Minnesota is a great way to find locally owned Minnesota restaurants and food purveyors. You'll find high-quality food and unique eating experiences with dishes from around the world. Just visit eatlocalminnesota.com for your next meal. Crooner Supper Club invites you to Maggie's Lounge, an exciting new bar lounge. It's open Wednesdays through Sundays beginning at 4:30 for cocktails and light fare. And you don't need a ticket to enjoy the great atmosphere of Maggie's. So stop by Crooner Supper Club off Moore Lake and Highway 65 for dinner, drinks, and live music from both big-name local and national artists. Cafe Latte combines a cafe dining experience with gourmet quality food. Plus, you can still do online ordering and takeout along with gift cards. Just go to cafelatte.com and choose from their ever-changing selection of award-winning salads, sandwiches, and soups. Cafe Latte is located off Victoria and Grand and online at cafelatte.com.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Partly cloudy tonight with a low of 63, then sunshine Tuesday with a high of 86. Gotcha Mama's Hot Barbecue offers the huge taste of selections like baby back ribs and pulled pork sandwiches out of a little place. Gotcha Mama's is located just a block west of I-35W off of West Diamond Lake Road in South Minneapolis. Visit their website at scotchamamas.com.
And join us tomorrow on GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun. We are going to have on the French Quarter psychic medium, Maria Shaw. It's going to be the first time that I have been able to interview her on the show. Guest host Char Savoy has had the absolute pleasure of interviewing her every time she's been on my show. But tomorrow I'm going to have that opportunity to talk with Maria. And as a bonus, we're going to have Miss Char Savoy with us as well. It's going to be a great conversation. We're going to have them on because this Saturday and Sunday, August 12th and August 13th at the Minneapolis Airport Marriott, there's going to be the Minnesota Psychic Fair that's put on by Maria Shaw. Both Char Savoy and myself is going to be at the fair. We both have a table there, and we're both speaking Saturday afternoon at, I believe, 4 p.m. We'll talk more about what we're doing tomorrow, talk about the fair itself, but also really going to delve into the gifts that both Maria and Char have. It's going to be an incredible conversation tomorrow. Wednesday, we're going to be doing Unlocking Your Multidimensional Self with Kedrick Olson. We've had him on before. Always a great conversation. We're going to talk cryptids on Thursday with Robert Robinson. Going to talk some Bigfoot. We're going to maybe talk some Reptoid. We'll see.
Uh-oh.
And then Friday, of course, is Casual Friday as we talk about paranormal news, oddities, and your comments and letters. What's also really not for the person I'm going to talk about here. Friday, we talked about that documentary about the exorcism that was directed by Friedkin, William Friedkin, right? Who did The Exorcist, and found out he passed away today. So we were talking about him Friday. He passed away today at the age of 87. And I mentioned it to Adam, who's in on Thursday and Fridays. And he's just like, there was somebody else that he talked about the other day and they died. So number one, Adam, don't ever talk about me. And secondly, Adam's like, I should start talking about a few other people. I'm like, Adam, don't even go there. So it's going to be a great week, but we're finishing up our conversation here with Mr. Tom Maher, who is the Minnesota State Director for MUFON. Been really enjoying this conversation, Tom. Thank you so much for being a part of it tonight.
Sure, happy to do it. And
so a couple weeks ago, we had congressional hearings on UAPs, and I find it to myself to be a bit of a mixed bag. Personally, it was just so happened that night we had Miss Erica on, just serendipitously. I did not plan this. That sort of thing never happens to me where it works out. And it was a very sobering conversation, I think. I'm curious what your thoughts were of those hearings.
Yeah. So, I did watch the hearings. I do appreciate whenever the government tries to take it seriously and tries to give some serious attention to it. And of course, the witnesses, I got hats off to the witnesses and, thank them for everything they're doing. It was interesting. I did find myself getting triggered about some stuff. I did find myself getting a little bit agitated and irritated, but that happens. Despite my fact of trying to be very optimistic, I do end up being very cynical sometimes watching that. And there was one guy who was, I think he was questioning, and I don't know if he was trying to make the whole topic seem ridiculous or ludicrous or improbable, but he said something to the effect of, well, you've got these systems that are billions of light years away, and you're going to tell me they're traveling billions of light years. They get all the way here, and then they crash. And I'm like, okay, I don't know if he was just trying for hyperbole or to be ridiculous, or if he didn't crack a book in high school or what the deal was, but systems that are billions of light years away, billions of light years. So, I'm always open to being wrong. So I decided I'd double check my math. And if my math is correct, our Milky Way galaxy is 100,000 light years across. So not even a million. So he's talking about systems that are billions of light years away. So unless he meant billions of miles, maybe he meant billions of miles, but billions of light years, we're not talking about that. And the other thing with that is too, when he's talking about these great distances, how could they travel this far? And he's thinking in a very human way of traveling. He's not looking at alternative ways of traveling. We think very much A to B in a very straight line, and that's not necessarily what's happening here. So I had some issues with that. There's something else on that I wanted to comment about too, but maybe it'll come back to me. And they mentioned, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think you really proved the point that you had made in the last segment, and what I wanted to bring up in this segment is that humans always want to have an answer to everything. And they think they know far much more than they really do. And that sort of questioning that, and I remember watching him saying, I don't remember which senator it was, but in my mind is like, some of us humans seem to be so smug that we think we know everything that's going on, even outside the confines of Earth. And that's just ridiculous. The people are like, well, it's impossible for other lives in this universe. To me, that's no different than saying, oh yeah, that the sun rotates around the Earth. It seems to be very old and archaic thinking to me.
Yeah, it seems like whenever we humans decide that something's impossible, we eventually determine that it's possible and actually does exist. So yeah. So.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I understand that maybe we aren't having aliens visiting us all the time. Maybe we are, but just the idea of that we're alone, that there's impossible that anything else, that any other planet could have life is ridiculous to me.
Right. And I forget the numbers that the more scientists look at it, I don't know if they've determined that it seems like at least 50% of the stars they see have planets, or maybe it's like 90%. So basically planets are abundant. And, the more we look at Earth and underwater, and life seems to be abundant everywhere here. There's no real reason to think that it's not abundant everywhere in the universe. So, and those distances I would think are much shorter. And then again, it's that whole, how would we get there? How would we get there? And the thing is too, the whole idea, they've got the technology to come out here all the way here and they would crash. Well, to be realistic, if you're to go back and talk to someone from 500 years ago and show them that we've got cars, and not only do we have cars that can drive themselves and cars that can parallel park all by themselves. And then to suggest to them that, but sometimes they crash. Well, yes, they can hit a patch of ice. There can be a mistake. There can be an error. So just because the technology is so much beyond what someone is used to doesn't mean it's perfect. Doesn't mean there's not accidents. Doesn't mean there's things can't go wrong. So the whole suggestion that, you mean they came all the way here and they crashed? Well, yeah, that could have happened. So.
And it's interesting because we had on last week Donald R. Schmidt, who co-wrote a book about Roswell, and one of their beliefs regarding the craft, that it didn't crash into the ground, it exploded in the air because of perhaps a number of factors, such as a lightning storm or the fact that there's so much radar facilities right around that area, maybe confuse a ship or whatnot. And I'm not trying to weigh in on Roswell, but what I'm saying though is that you're right. There is so many different things that contribute. And how many times do we have people in the Air Force taking flights, that they're doing missions and they crash, and it's not because they don't know what they're doing, but like you said, things happen.
Yep. Yeah, and they did a number of times. They did mention, if I was in a skiff, I could tell you this. As a skiff, I could tell you that. Which I was kind of okay with. They dropped the phrase national security quite a bit. Now I don't want to get too political, but that phrase is getting me really triggering for me, because in the past, someone would say, "Well, we can't discuss it due to national security," and I used to just flat out accept that, going, "It's national security. I can appreciate that. I can respect that. They're trying to protect us. They can't share that with us." I was okay with that. I accepted that, but it's used so often now when they talk national security, and I find myself going, look at our southern border right now. I mean, look at our southern border. From what I'm seeing, our government and this administration is not concerned about our national security. It's not a priority of theirs. It's not something that's important to them. So for them to tell me they can't tell me something because of national security, I'm not buying it anymore. I used to buy it. I used to accept it pretty easily, but that one's kind of like out the door with me. It's kind of I don't accept it because I don't see that our government and this administration is really concerned about national security. That's a little bit of my personal bias, but there it is there too. So
no, and I appreciate that. I appreciate you being, very forthright that, because I think it's a valid point. And, you have David Grush, who I believe, it sounds to me when I listen to stuff that he says outside of the congressional hearing, opposed to what he was saying under oath in the congressional hearing, it's not like they're different things, but outside there's a whole lot more that he's saying than inside. And to me, that was a red flag of, is this guy actually, telling untruths? And he's not willing to do that under oath, but he's willing to be able to hide behind confidentiality, or so he says.
Yeah, I guess with those witnesses, I feel like really inclined to give them the benefit of the doubt, because they're really kind of opening themselves up to a lot just by doing that. So I respect them and appreciate that, and I can understand how they could say stuff outside that's different. But I guess in general, when the government tells me national security, I've kind of had enough with that one. That excuse has kind of run its course for me. So
yeah, no, I totally understand that. Part of it too is, maybe this leads to more, maybe it doesn't, but it certainly it makes you ask questions. It gets a buzz, at least in the community. And I don't think short from someone towing up to the Capitol a broken down UFO, or someone bringing out an alien for us to look at, I do feel like that we're all going to always want more, that there's always going to be like, I wish that it was this and not this.
Right. Yeah. And there was another thing very early on in the hearing too. This kind of like the whole thing about not knowing how many light years across the soul, there were away from us. Early on in the hearing, they mentioned the TikTok event. And right as soon as they mentioned the TikTok event, I kind of started grinding my teeth. I'm going, did he just say the TikTok event? Because there is no TikTok event. If he's talking about a TikTok event, he's going to have to show me something. It was because I was kind of going, are they even looking at this stuff? Are they taking it seriously? Because there is no TikTok event. It's the Tic Tac event. Yeah. And they did clear that up later on. But I'm like, how seriously are you taking this when you don't even know it's a Tic Tac event, when you don't know that the nearest star is not billions of light years away? It just, it was really frustrating to see some of that stuff. So
yeah, no, I could understand. I can only imagine, based on the stuff that I'm really passionate about, and I see something that people are talking about and they're getting the facts wrong, and it's like, why can't we find the right people to ask the right questions? I understand what you're saying about that completely. Linda had a question for you. She just wanted
Linda. She's my favorite listener. Linda, look at her. She's putting all this stuff in. Linda, you're my favorite. You're my all-time favorite, Linda. Thank you.
That's why the show is called GhostBox Radio with Linda Judd. Does Linda Judd and a Reptoid. I like that.
Yeah.
It could be a good singing duo. The Reptoid and the Judd,
Linda Judd and the Reptoids. I can see it. Yep, up in lights in Vegas. Does MUFON offer any type of classes to the general public, or just to field members to assist them in interviewing folks? Again, that could vary from state to state. So every month at our monthly meetings, I do go through the cases. I do talk about the cases. So it's not really a class per se, but one of our goals is to educate the public. So if the public does want someone from MUFON to come out and talk on a particular event, we certainly do that. I've done that. I did a presentation at UFO Days in Wisconsin a couple weeks ago. I've done other presentations here around town to other groups that wanted just presentations on MUFON. So not really classes per se in Minnesota, but we do presentations, and that could vary from state to state. But really, if someone approached us and said they wanted a class on X, if they wanted a presentation on what our field investigation process is like, or how to become a field investigator, that's certainly something that we would be happy to do, just because, like I said, one of our goals is educate the public. So there's nothing really formal, but we would certainly do that if someone were express the interest.
And Linda, yes, Linda also asked if the MUFON meetings open to the public. We already said yes, but we're looking at Minnesota. She's actually in, I believe, California.
Okay, cool.
Does the public, the being open to the public, has that changed from state to state?
It shouldn't, because everybody's got the goal to educate the public. So that's one of the goals.
Yeah.
There's California is so big and they get so many cases. They actually have 2 state directors in California. They're both good people too. And so their meetings, I think they're both open to the public. I want to say they are. And I know there's like someone in, I don't know if it's Missouri, but they do like a Midwest meeting, and they have it open to like everyone in the country. And we're on Zoom now too, so people from around the world can join our meeting. So yeah, we do want to be part of public outreach and public connection, and educating the public is part of what we do. So I can't imagine they would have all their stuff be off limits to the public. So yeah, there should be something out there for you.
So there is a main MUFON website for the Minnesota chapter. How do people get a hold of you?
Yeah, so our chapter is www.mnmufon.org.
Nice.
So we're mnmufon.org, and we're working on updating the site. It's the site behind the scenes that we're launching is much better than what's out there now. So if you see the site and go, oh wow, we've got a much better site we're launching very soon. But so don't judge us on the site we've got out there now. And if they want to, they can send me an email too. My email address is MUFONTom, so MUFON Tom TOM at E as in Edward, P as in Paul, CoachTom.com. So MUFONTom at EPCoachTom.com. And I can help you get connected to everything, get you on our mailing list and whatnot. So.
And we'll make that information available so people can who are listening on the radio, and also for those who are just on this chat right now, we'll make sure that's available. Tom, thank you so much for joining me tonight. It was a fantastic conversation.
Cool. Happy to do it. If you want me back, just let me know.
Oh, we're going to want you back for sure. Thank you, Tom. That's it for us tonight. Tomorrow, we're going to have both Maria Shaw and Char Savoy. We're going to be talking about the Minnesota Psychic Fair this Saturday and Sunday, August 12th and 13th. You've been listening to GhostBox Radio. We'll see you tomorrow.
Standing Up to the Hatriots, the David Pakman Show, weekdays at 2 p.m. on AM 950 KTNF St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
All right. How was that?
Worked for me. So, yeah.
Going to shut this off here.